What did a judge say during sentencing that made you say you gotta be kidding me? I was waiting at the county courthouse one day while my aunt was searching through documents at the recorder of deeds and wandered into a courtroom looking to halt my boredom. As I watched, I realized each case was the judge taking guilty pleas for substance or alcohol offenses. The judge's name was Judge Ferber. I distinctly remember two of the cases. The first was a young lady who had been caught with prescription pills. They were going over the plea arrangement with the judge, which I believe was a 6-month jail term due to being caught multiple times, 4 or 5 if I remember correctly. After being told all of the details, the judge sighed and said something along the lines of, "See, this is what I'm talking about. You went through this and that and made sure you were punishing her in a way you deemed adequate, but to me, it is clear we have been watching as this young lady steadily progressed in her addiction. A couple of arrests for drinking and marijuana, then pills, then shoplifting, now more pills. Yet, you haven't put anything about treatment in your plea agreement?" The young attorney, looking shaken from the scolding he just got, started to reply, well. But he was cut off by the judge. "Young lady, you are what? 20,21? She answered that she will soon be 20. The judge looked exhausted by this answer and shook his head, answering, "You do not need to be in a jail cell. You need to be in a doctor's office to find out what's causing your self-destructive behavior. And then you need to be in a place where you can break this pattern. Not jail." He then told both attorneys and the young lady that he would allow the agreement they had arranged to stay in place, but he was going to suspend the jail time if she would voluntarily go into whatever treatment was recommended after an evaluation and went to outpatient counseling for a minimum of a year. If she completed that, she would not go to jail. I remember thinking to myself, wow, this judge actually cares about people. I hope that young lady realized the chance she had been given and did right by the judge. The next case was quite similar. A man in his 30s was pleading to his third DUI. They went over the arrangement and the judge was looking through the paperwork. He looked at the defendant and said, "You know, if you hadn't run from the cops you wouldn't be in nearly as much trouble. If you saw the last case I just had, you'd see that I actually look at the details of not only the present case but the priors as well. It looks like your first DUI was 6 years ago. Tell me about your second, because from what I'm reading it looks like they found you passed out in a parked car." The man explained that he was out at a bar and had gotten into his car when ready to leave. At that point, he realized he was a bit drunk and thought the responsible thing to do was sleep in his car until he was sobered up. A police officer woke him by knocking on his window, but because his keys were still in the ignition he was charged with a DUI. The judge did a facepalm and asked, "And this time? Why did you run this time? If they hadn't substance tested you, they wouldn't have found the marijuana in your system and you wouldn't be sitting in front of me today." The response, "Well sir, I saw the flashing lights behind me and freaked out. I knew I didn't have my license back yet and that I was going to get screwed again, so I decided maybe if I just drove home and talked to them from my driveway I'd stand more of a chance. I know that doesn't make much sense now, but as I said, I was freaking out. And honestly sir, I didn't run from them as much as I just kinda ignored their existence. I was still obeying the speed limit, signaling my turns, and stopping at stop signs and lights. If you ask the arresting officers, I'm sure they would vouch for me on that." The judge sort of laughed and said he appreciated the honesty. He agreed to most of the arranged deal but dropped the felony of running from the cops down to a misdemeanor version. I can't remember the terminology or names of the charges, but they were basically the same thing, with one being harsher. I know he had to report to the jail and complete substance and alcohol treatment, but can't remember the length of the term. He gave him 1 month to report to the jail so that he could get his affairs in order before beginning his sentence and said, "Do not make me regret this. If you drive even an inch during this time and make me look like a fool, you will find that I will not be so lenient." So my "you've gotta be kidding me" moment was actually a "you've gotta be kidding me. This judge is an actual caring and reasonable human being" moment.